My name is Linda, and I am 69 years old, and when I tell this story my voice still shakes a little because it carries both pain and strength. I had been married to my husband Daniel for more than 4 decades, and we built a home with our own hands and dreams. We painted the walls together, we planted trees, and we shared coffee every morning in the quiet sunlight. He was not only my husband, he was my friend and partner in all storms of life. When he passed away, my world lost its balance, and I felt like a boat floating with no anchor. I sat near his old rocking chair every night, touching the cushion where he used to rest and whispering small prayers, hoping he could hear me somehow. I thought support would come from family, especially his daughter Claire, but life has strange ways of testing us. One morning I was sitting on the living room couch holding Daniel's wool jacket close to me, and remembering how he used to laugh softly at my jokes when Claire walked in. Her steps were loud and sharp, like she was cutting the silence. Her face had no softness, no grief, only a heavy cold stare. She looked around the living room like she owned the air inside it, and then she looked at me like I was sitting on something that belonged to her. She told me to stand up and move because she needed the room to make space for guests. She said this house was her father's house, and she wanted things arranged her way. I felt her words hit me like stones, but I stayed quiet. Claire kept walking around the room, touching the frames and pushing aside things I had arranged. She said I was making the house gloomy. She said I brought sadness everywhere I sat. Her voice kept getting stronger, and I felt myself getting smaller. Then she asked me why I was even in that room. She said I was not part of real family. She said I ruined her father's last years by being too emotional. I wanted to speak, but grief held my throat. She told me to leave the room and go to the back because I did not belong in the living room. That night she came into my bedroom without knocking. She said she had decided that I needed to leave the house because she wanted to prepare everything for the funeral her way. She said she would handle guests' arrangements, flower speeches, and everything. She told me I had no right to attend because she wanted only true family members present. My hands shook so much that I could barely fold the sweater I was holding. Before I could answer, she took my small suitcase, placed it near the door, and told me that she would not repeat herself. I felt pushed out, not physically, but with such forceful words that my heart felt bruised. I walked to my old friend Nora's home because she lived a few blocks away. When she opened the door, she hugged me tightly. She made warm tea and placed a soft blanket over my shoulders like a mother comforting a child. She told me I could stay as long as I needed. She said she knew Claire had always been angry because her father loved me deeply. That night I slept in Nora's guest room, listening to the soft ticking of her clock and letting silent tears fall. The next morning Claire called Nora and spoke loudly enough that I could hear. She said I was no longer welcome at the funeral. She said she did not want me to stand near my husband's coffin. She said I was a disturbance. I felt like my heart had broken twice, once when Daniel left and again when his daughter took away my right to say goodbye. I sat on the small bed thinking how cruel grief could be. But fate had something else written. A lawyer arrived at Nora's home later that afternoon holding a brown envelope. His face was gentle and full of sympathy. He told me the envelope was from Daniel. He had left it for me before he passed. Inside was a long handwritten letter. Daniel's handwriting was slow, uneven, and filled with love. He wrote that he knew Claire might cause trouble. He wrote that he trusted me more than anyone. He wrote that everything he owned was under my name because he wanted me protected. He wrote that Claire started shouting that I manipulated her father. She said I tricked him. She said I stole his life. But everyone could see the truth. Her anger was wild and messy. Daniel's voice was calm and full of clarity. The truth stood on its own feet, and her lies collapsed like sand. I walked slowly through the living room, touching the table Daniel used when fixing small things for the house. I felt the weight of grief, but also the warmth of justice. Claire walked out of the door, crying angrily. She did not return. In the following weeks, she tried to challenge the will. She filed complaints. She accused me again. But the court dismissed everything. They told her the will was clear and legally strong. She lost the case and even lost some of her savings trying to fight it. Her greed had built a cage around her, and she had trapped herself inside. I stayed in the home Daniel and I built. I cleaned every room gently. I placed his favorite book on the nightstand. I opened windows so the morning light could enter again. I planted flowers in the backyard. Daisies, roses, lilies, all blooming into colors that filled the air with soft hope. I reopened my sewing room where women from the neighborhood brought old torn dresses. I stitched them with steady hands. They sat with me, drinking warm tea, sharing stories, laughing softly. Slowly my heart learned to breathe again. The house felt alive once more with gentle footsteps and quiet comfort. Sometimes losing the love of someone you raised hurts more deeply than losing anything else. But there are moments when you must choose dignity over approval. Daniel protected me even after his last breath. And I learned that peace comes not from who stays, but from who never tries to break you even when they are gone.